So the different eras of Deep Purple doesn't bother me because I like a lot of different music. If you haven't figured that out yet, you're probably new here. so, so for Mark One, I'd say Book of Taliesin is my favorite of that period. Mark Two, I would say In Rock is my favorite from that era. Now, my favorite Deep Purple period is Mark Three. Um, said a few artists ago when I came up with David Coverdale that Whitesnake is one of my favorite bands, and they really are. I love them, and I'd already liked Deep Purple, but I only knew the Ian Gillan sort of because I heard Smoke on the Water, Space Truckin', Woman from Tokyo, that kind of stuff. And then I discovered Shades of Deep Purple in Dad's collection. That's when I discovered they had a singer before that. And then when Whitesnake hit big with their 87 album, which at the time I thought that was their first album. I thought they were just hitting the scene. And I was like, wow, that's a pretty incredible album for their debut. But come to find out, they'd obviously been around forever, lots of albums, et cetera, and so on. And then I learned that David Coverdale had been in Deep Purple, and I was like, oh, shoot. I had no idea. So once I finally heard the albums that David Coverdale was on, that became my favorite period of Deep Purple. A lot of it had to do with the fact that, yes, I liked David Coverdale's voice a lot. But it also had a lot to do with the fact that the music that they were playing in Deep Purple at that time really connected with me because I like a lot of bluesy stuff. Even though I'm a metal guy, I've always had an interest in blues music. I would say my first real conscious introduction to blues was probably Stevie Ray Vaughan. I have a conscious remembering of Dad buying Texas Flood and he and I listening to it on vinyl, and then of course through Hendrix and, who's not really a traditional blues guy, but then that stuff led me to Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker, and all that. So I grew up with a diverse buffet of music, so that's why I listen to all kinds of different stuff. Plus, I'm just that kind of guy. I like all kinds of stuff. So having said all that, out of the Mark III part of the era of the band with David Coverdale, and of course, you got Glenn Hughes, and his voice is insane. His voice is still insane. He can still sing. David Coverdale cannot. But this is my favorite Mark III album. This is my favorite Deep Purple album, period. The first time I heard this album, it burned my face off. It literally, my face melted off. I had to pick it up off the floor and glue it back in on. And that's probably why I'm so ugly now, because this album ruined my face. So I love this album. This album is incredible. You've got the title track alone is worth the price of this album. Mistreated? Come on. Seriously. This album is... I don't know what to say. This album is incredible. I love this album. I love this album so much I would marry it if it was allowed. So, sadly, my sister is in bed asleep because she worked last night, and today's her day off, so she usually stays in bed most of the day, if not all day. But I would love to crank this up, and next opportunity I get, I will. But let's get ready to burn.